to Have You Got Your Shit Together with me, Caitlin O'Ryan, the podcast that celebrates not having your shit together. Our first guest of 2024 is Jenny Foulds. She is a queer performance poet, writer and actress from Scotland. Jenny was the 2021 Scottish Poetry Slam champion and was runner-up in the World Slam Championships in 2021, as well as being host and curator of the Brighton-based spoken word night Rebel Soapbox. She's had feature and headline gigs at nights across the UK, including Hammer and Tongue, Loud Poets, Tong Fu, Stanza Poetry Festival and Edinburgh Fringe. As an actress, she was a series regular in 2000 Acres of Sky for the BBC and appeared in various TV and film roles including Rebus, Mandancin, Taggart and The Debt Collector. She founded the street art blog Happy Graffiti, which later became a book published by Octopus Books in 2013. She has recently written and performed in her first solo show, Life Learnings of a Nonsensical Human, which I got to see at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, and it was absolutely brilliant. She describes herself as the owner of ADHD and Dyslexia, and we talk a lot in this episode about how receiving an ADHD diagnosis later in life has helped her to further understand herself. We also talk a lot in this episode about grief, so if that is something that you are currently going through, maybe tread carefully with this episode. I really hope you enjoy the episode. It was a joy talking to Jenny. Here's Jenny Foulds.
Pandemic, yeah. So I came down here to sunny Brighton.
And how long had you been in London before that?
15 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah, totally. I miss it a lot.
Yeah.
Because all my friends are still there, and I kind of miss the hustle and bustle, and now that everything's open again and it's like a hive of creativity and doing stuff, there's like so much to do and so many good restaurants and so many all of that. But that being said, I definitely feel like London is very hedonistic, and it was very good to me. London's been really good to me, and I feel like I'm moving into the next part of my life.
Chapter, the next phase.
Yeah.
And prior to that, you are Scottish.
I am. No, prior to that, I still am Scottish.
What was I trying to ask there?
But prior to that, I am from Edinburgh.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, I lived in Edinburgh until I was about 26. I'm old, so...
No.
I lived there until I was 26. And then I was acting at the time, so my agent was in London, so I moved down because my agent was there. So I thought, I know where the streets. I'll go to London where the streets are paved with unemployed actors and shit-10 jobs, which is exactly the case.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so on a scale of shit to together, how are you feeling today?
Today, I feel like I never actually ever feel like I've totally got my shit together, but I feel like I'm in a much better place than I have been in the past year to 3 years. And I feel like I've been pretty productive today, which is generally how I feel when I feel like I've got my shit together, is productivity generally.
I think that's for a lot of people.
Yeah,
and you've got your Rebel Soapbox 4-year anniversary. Happy birthday.
Thank you. 4 years. Rebel Soapbox is a spoken word poetry night that I started it in
oh my god 2019.
In 2019. So I was part of the street art and graph scene in London for a bit. I used to have a blog called Happy Graffiti, which promoted positive vandalism, and there was a guy, there was an artist called Ben Naz who sadly passed away. He had leukemia, and our group of kind of artists and pals from Monty's bar, because it was a street art bar.
That was such a great venue. I've never been there since.
It's such a great venue, and also it was kind of like Cheers. Like you could go down your own and you'd know everyone. But we basically put up a series of events to raise money for Macmillan cancer charity, and for Ben's family as well. And they asked me to do a poetry night, a one-off poetry night. To raise money for Macmillan, and I was like, yeah, sure, what will we call it? And I was thinking, there's basically a bunch of naughty artists here that write on walls, which is called Rebel Soapbox. Cute. And then Rebel Soapbox was born.
Wow. And now it's 4 years.
Yeah, totally. Well, 4 years, and then so did like those did it until the February. February 2020 were meant to be live.
That's when I performed. No, because then the pandemic had kind of was in full. Everyone got sent home from work, and we had to make a decision. The bars haven't closed yet, but we had to make a decision whether to hold it, because I don't know if you remember, but that venue downstairs was like a sweat box with no ventilation, and it was great place for COVID to hang out.
I mean, exactly that. Yeah,
COVID and artists.
Totally. And we had to make a decision whether to like do it there, kind of in person or not, and we just made the decision not to. I say we, I did, but then we kind of quickly went online, and then I kind of realised that the format didn't really work. It was on it. It was Instagram Live that we were doing it on. So I ended up doing conversations with poets, which was basically I would interview a performance poet every month, and then they would do a set. And that was kind of a better format for online.
That's cool.
But then when we moved to Brighton, the Brunswick, where Rebel Soapbox was the first venue that I saw, and I walked in and I was like, this is fucking perfect. And I've been there for 2 years. So it's 2 years today.
Wow.
2 years today.
In Brighton.
No, in Brunswick, and then 4 years, so it's 4 and 2.
Wow.
So it's like 2 big anniversaries today.
Oh my gosh, well, happy birthday.
Thanks very much.
And just so knowing that you've got that this evening, does that make you feel a bit more together or a bit more chaotic?
The format is solid. Yeah. I feel quite together with it. And actually now I've kind of been hosting for 4 years.
Yeah.
When I first started hosting, I'd be absolutely shitting myself.
Oh my God, yeah.
I wasn't kind of... it was the on-the-fly stuff I wasn't comfortable with. But actually, it's been such a good skill to learn.
Oh, hell yeah.
To kind of feel that you've got your shit together.
Yeah.
Because even when it's a bit haphazard... Nobody really cares.
You just got to kind of ride it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And also, because the night's been going this long, we get lots of regular, it's like lots of familiar faces.
Like a community.
Yeah, totally.
That's
so we've almost sold all the tickets for tonight. So
great. Yeah. Amazing. Okay, on that then, what does having your shit together mean to you?
Having my shit together, so... I mean, I've spent a lot of my life feeling like I don't have my shit together. So I recently had an ADHD diagnosis about 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
And it's been like a light bulb moment for me. And ever since I've had the diagnosis, I take medication, but also I have an ADHD coach who helps me with strategies. So actually, what I've realised is having my shit together looks like having a routine. Having turning up for myself. And being disciplined to turn up. And actually it can be as little, and it sounds so small, and it probably to everyone else, but the thing about having ADHD is our executive function is essentially fucked. So we need to one of my strategies is having a morning routine, which is like I need to get up at the same time every morning. And as soon as I get up, I need to make my bed. And then as soon as I make my bed, I need to get showered and ready. And then as soon as I've done that, then I need to go for a walk. And then as soon as I've done that, I've got admin time that I can sit down and answer all the text messages that I haven't answered.
Oh my God.
Which I'm terrible at. And then at that point, then I sit down and do the thing I'm going to do that day, because my reward centre has enough dopamine to see me through into the next part to give me motivation to do it.
Wow.
So that for me, I know I've got my shit together when I'm hitting those things.
And do you feel like you're quite good at keeping on top of that each day?
It depends how it depends where I am with my mental health. Because if I'm not in a good place, then it kind of all goes awry.
I suppose it's quite a good marker to where you're at, and like your bed's still unmade and stuff like that. You're like, wow, okay. Yeah,
totally. And I mean, anyone who listens to this who's known me for years will be like, fucking hell, Jenny, you've changed. Because the thing is, I'm historic. I'm like famously very messy and kind of like a bit haphazard and chaotic. Whereas like I've realised actually the things that help me the most is trying to put some kind of order in the middle of the chaos that is my head.
Even just that though, like I feel like so many people would benefit from that structure, like me being self-employed, like that rigorousness. Because I think sometimes you can get so flexible with, like, if I've had a late night, then I'll get up a little bit later, and but that just kind of fucks me really, and like structure-wise, I end up feeling a bit all over the place.
Totally, and actually that was one of the things for me where before I had even had a diagnosis, the first therapist that I ever went to was during the beginning of the pandemic, and I was like, I just don't feel right. There's something that I had brain fog, and it was essentially all the novelty. My whole life has been living in novelty, right? And so the novelty is the thing that's been giving me my dopamine, right? So I was always out. I was always there. I was like quite hedonistic. I was always new pals, always festivals, always gigs. There was never a week that was the same. And then when all that was taken away, it was literally went into a dopamine depletion. Right. So which is giving me brain fog. Wow. And I spoke to this therapist. I said to her, like, if I don't get up before, at the time, because I wasn't working at the time either. If I don't get up before 10 o'clock, my whole day's fucked. And I feel like a loser.
Same.
And then it's hard to kind of bring yourself
come back from there.
But which is so stupid, because actually it's only 10 o'clock. You've still got a whole day in front of you. But it's like this psychological barrier that I was feeling at the time. So it actually getting up at a certain time. I now go to the gym. I now get up at like 6:30 and go to the gym 3 times a week, midweek, and even that, I know when I can't be bothered, I peel myself out of bed and go to this class. I go to the strength training classes, and I'm like, if I get out of bed to go to that, I know that I'm going to feel much better when I come back, because I'm up and I'm out. So it's crazy that you've been diagnosed so late. I know. Like, I was 42. Wow. 42 when I got a diagnosis. But it's I was very much ADHD as a kid. And I have been in my life, and I was hyperactive as a kid, and there was an awareness around my hyperactivity, but I think in the early 80s, ADHD was kind of an American disorder for little boys who were destructive, right? But I was kind of like a little destructive little boy, but I was chaotic. I was like a little whirlwind. But actually, it's interesting being diagnosed so late, because what comes with it is like a sense of grief for your little self, but also like a sense of relief, because you can everything kind of falls into place. You're like, oh, of course it's that. Makes sense to me. Because I often struggled. I often struggled with everything I ever did was really messy. Right? I've got really messy handwriting. So much shame about my handwriting. Right, from when I was a kid, right up until now. In fact, one time when I was acting, I did a TV show called 2,000 Acres of Sky with the BBC for 2 years, and I was out with my girlfriend at the time. We went bowling, and these 2 little 10-year-olds came up, they're 12-year-olds, came up to me and were like, "Are you Heather McGowan from 2,000 Acres of Sky?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they were like, "Can we get your autograph?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course, just get me a pen and paper." And then they came, and I signed this bit of paper, and then as I turned around to my girlfriend, all I heard was, "God, look at her writing." Oh my God. Read to film. Oh my God. Well, I'm never doing that again. And I never got asked again. Like, fuck for that. But but I was always really just always had loads of shame around my handwriting. I was really forgetful. I'm also dyslexic, so they sit really hand in hand and close together. Always felt quite misunderstood, was always really hyperactive, always felt like I was too much, always felt like I was not enough. It was like all this kind of like, it was really just a lot of complicated feelings, and I wish I'd understood my brain better when I was younger, because I would have been able to put more strategies around it, because what comes from undiagnosed ADHD there's like self-esteem and confidence issues, right? So on one hand, to the world I might look like I'm super confident, but also there's a lifetime of feeling like you're a bit of a fuck up. That's kind of like that. So
gosh, that's so interesting. Like, because when I think of my friends who have ADHD, there's obviously the downsides to it, but then one of like the superpower aspects of it is that they can get so much done, and they're so like front-footed in a way that like I am not. Like, I think there's benefits to it as well.
Yeah, there can be. I think that if you're interested in something, then you can hyperfocus, and hyperfocus is
useful sometimes.
Incredible. It's incredible. I mean, it's incredible to the point of sometimes I'll hyperfocus, like if I'm hyperfocusing on writing, for instance, I will be like, I will sit for 10 hours and I will write, and then but then I won't have peed, I won't have drunk anything, I won't have eaten anything. You're like so in, you kind of look up and it's dark and you're like, oh God, you know. So it's good, but it's not very healthy at points. But also the thing about hyperfocus, you can't choose what you hyperfocus in on. So sometimes it's unhelpful. Sometimes you hyperfocus in on things that are not useful at all, and then it's because it's like a dysregulation, right? My gosh. So we can't choose the things we're interested in.
Okay, well, before the podcast I asked you to think of an object that makes you feel like you've got your shit together. What is it?
My plants.
Your plants! Yeah. Yay! No one has said this before. I always think plants. Yeah.
Because the thing is, your plants are like kind of like a real life example of you turning up and being disciplined.
Yeah. They are thriving.
Otherwise they'd be dead. Yeah. I mean, this one's kind of waning a bit. I can't remember what this one's called, but it happens in winter. It's because there's not enough light in here. But, oh my gosh. But she'll come back. She'll come back in spring. And this one here is like a Christmas cactus, which my mum gave me a cutting off about 10 years ago, and then my gran gave her a cutting of her one on her wedding day, and this is this is one of the babies from my gran's
It's
one.
The generations. Yeah, that's so gorgeous.
So this should flower because it's a Christmas cactus. This should flower next month.
Wow.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, plants became my new obsession during lockdown. I mean, Rapunzel is out of control.
Yeah, she's beautiful though.
She is beautiful.
Her hair is tumbling down from the shelf.
Yeah, exactly. And then this one looks like it should be Jurassic Park or something.
Oh my God, they're so amazing.
So these are the things, they make me feel like I've got my shit together because I turn up. Yeah. And that's the thing is, I think when I think I've got my shit together is when I can be disciplined, when I've got a habit, when I've formed a habit and I can keep turning up for it. Yeah. Because I find it really hard to form habits, whereas this has become the best habit ever because they're like my little babies.
And it's proof that they're doing well. Yeah. Because I kill all of my plants.
Do you?
Yeah, I'm really bad with them. I'm so forgetful.
You just really forget to...
I forget about them, or like... just like I'm not that interested. Unless I see that it's like on the floor, then I'll give it a water, but...
You should get these water balls.
I've just noticed.
Because also, if you're a visual person, the plants take what water they need.
So you see it go down?
Yep, and then when it's empty, you fill it up.
That's cool. They're really great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I can't believe no one said that before. That's kind of...
I think maybe one other person, Rosie, might have said it, but I've always thought that more people would say plants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like,
they're such a visual signifier of, like... Yeah. Other than, like, a cat or a baby.
Well, yeah,
You've kept something alive.
You've kept something alive.
Yeah. It's like the starter cat, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can graduate.
Oh, I know. But this is it. It's like if they rely on you to stay alive. So.
Well, they are thriving. They look very happy to be here.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, it's my little jungle.
Can you tell me about a time in your life where you felt like you really had your shit together?
Well, there's two things I would say. One is I worked in the city of London for 10 years.
Oh my God.
I worked in the Gherkin for an asset management company.
Oh my God, The Apprentice.
I mean, Snoresville. And in my head, I'm like, I sold my soul for 10 years in the city. and I I'm going to say I had my shit together, but I was like turning up for a really boring job every day for 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. So I had a pension and like healthcare, you know, like that's kind of like, I kind of like inverted commas having my shit together. So like, I suppose that's the standard version of having my shit together. Yeah. But actually, if I think really about it, I would say I did my show at Edinburgh this year, and being disciplined enough to write a show.
Oh my God.
And then, do it at Brighton Fringe and then take it to Edinburgh. That, for me, I was really proud of myself for that. And I felt like, I'm doing the thing. I'm doing my thing. Yeah. This is the thing I want to do. And I never ever thought I would be capable of. I never thought I'd be a writer. One thing, because I'm dyslexic, and I'm like, I used to hate. I used to just have loads of shame around reading and or not being able to read very well. And I was always better at saying words out loud than writing them down on a page. And since I got into performance poetry, it's definitely alleviated that feeling. I feel like I don't know, I feel capable now, which is something I've never felt before. And when I was up doing it and up on stage on the last night of my run, I felt like I had my shit together.
Oh my God.
Yeah, totally, because I was like, this is where this is where I belong.
Definitely. And I got the pleasure of seeing it at the Fringe, and it was amazing. Like, I was so proud of you, crying away in the audience. So tell us about it then. What is the play? What?
So it's spoken word theatre, and it's called Life Learnings of a Nonsensical Human, which is I'm the nonsensical human. It's kind of memoir, I would say. It's a life so far.
Yeah.
It's it basically the premise is welcome to my brain, my ADHD brain. These are the things I think about.
Yeah.
It's essentially 22 pieces strung together.
Yeah. And
each piece is a memory or something that's happened in my life. And it goes from 1993 to now.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a life so far, I suppose. But it's about raving, queerness, and finding joy amidst grief. Finding joy in the most unlikely places, amidst grief, not after grief. Because I lost my dad last year, and grief is a weird thing. But I have felt joy since he's died, and I continue to feel joy and find joy in the most unlikely places, because actually when I find joy now, it isn't necessarily in the places I used to find it. It's changed the way I see the world. It's
so
losing him. So I wanted to write. I'd started writing the show before he died, and then he died, and the show took a whole different direction. And actually, he's in the heart of it, which is interesting. My dad was quite conservative in ways, and he would often be like, "Get a real job." When I was acting, it would be like, "You need to get a real job." And actually, probably, he's part of the reason I ended up working in the city for 10 years, really. But it's kind of I talk about the day before he died, and I talk about losing him, and how that's, and how, I suppose, hitting rock bottom in grief, but finishing on joy. So it's like a bit of a roller coaster for everyone who comes to see it. But I'm dead proud of it. I'm trying to put together a tour for next year, and I'm on at the Old Market Theatre on the 14th of March as well. So in Brighton. So.
And how did you find the act of, because you said that you never saw yourself as a writer. When did you start writing?
I ended up. Have you been to a Burns night?
I have never been to one.
You've never been to a Burns night?
No, I definitely should though.
We should go to a Burns
night.
It's a lot of fun. It's essentially just another excuse for Scottish folk to have a big party, have big old knees up. So my friend runs a Burns night that happens in Oxted, and she asked me if I would write the address to the laddies. So there's the traditions of Burns night are there's a lot of Burns poetry. There's the address to the haggis, and then there's the address. I know the haggis gets piped into the room. It gets stabbed with a ski and do, which is a knife in a sock. I don't know if you've ever heard of a ski and do.
Yeah.
You should know about a ski and do.
Sure.
No? Ski and do is the knife that's in the when Scottish when you're wearing Scottish regale, when men are wearing Scottish regale and a kilt, there's a knife in the sock called a ski and do. Anyway, that they stab the haggis, and then after dinner, usually a man addresses the women and a woman addresses the men, address the laddies and address the lassies. It's a bit dusty and archaic, but my friend asked me to do it at Burns night, and I was like, no, I'm not doing it. I hadn't performed in 10 years, 8 years. I had never written anything, so I was like, why would you want me to do it? She said, would you just give it a go? And I was like, so I started writing something, and I was like, oh, I should quite like this. And then, so wrote it, did it. It was like, my friend filmed it. It was about 200 people. My friend filmed it, and it was like it was like the light bulb moment on this video, and she shared it. We shared it online, and it got like 15,000 viewers. You know, it was like quite quickly got seen by lots of people, and I weirdly had a life coach at the time, and he really helped me around kind of self-belief and taking chances and being brave and all this stuff. And so I sent it to a couple of spoken word nights in London, and it ended up doing Rounds with Orange, and then winning the open mic there, and then did a 10-minute set. Ended up they asked me to be part of their collective, so I joined them, and we ended up we're writing and performing 10 minutes of new material every month.
That's amazing.
So by the end of, I was with them for 2 or 3 years, but it came away with a couple of hours worth of material.
Because the play that you did at Edinburgh was kind of extracts of poems that you've, like standalone poems that you've written for the past few years that you've kind of tied together. Yes.
It's interesting because when you, like, the show, everything before my dad died was written before my dad died, and everything after my dad died in the play, in the show, was written after he died. And I've changed a lot. How I write how I write really changed. The things I write about has changed. You know, it kind of feels like when I first got into it, I wanted to write comedy. I wanted to be funny,
and it is funny.
But then it's interesting because I think actually when I first started doing it, because when I acted I wanted to do comedy, but I always got cast in drama. And
people who can do comedy can do drama really well, because
but I never got cast in comedy. This was the thing, but I wanted to do comedy, and then as I kind of went on, you realise obviously life's not like that, and it's like it's not one note, and I don't want to be one note either. So as I kind of, I've only been writing for about 6 years, but as I've kind of gone on, it's definitely more complex than that. But now I just feel like I just write about grief. I just write about grief and dying now. But it's definitely there's definitely two parts to my show. It's the light funny stuff, the silly stuff, and then the sad stuff. But it's life, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, a time in your life where you felt like you really didn't have your shit together.
Oh God, there's so many of them. There's just I've just kind of had a lifetime of not having my shit together. I've been I've just historically been really wayward. I'm the most got my shit together now than I've ever had before, which is I think it comes with age. But I definitely felt during the pandemic was really hairy time. There was a lot going on. I kind of feel like not only did we have the existential crisis of the world falling apart.
Yeah.
But I got made redundant, and then I was going through a breakup, and then my friend died.
Wow.
And then there was just like a bunch of stuff that happened. And I think the kind of nothing makes you have a look at yourself than losing a lot. I think there was a lot of loss around about that time.
And I guess with the pandemic as well, there wasn't much distraction, so you were really just having to fucking face it.
Yeah, totally. And going through it, I think that's the thing, is like, I definitely feel like at that point in my life, I felt the most helpless, I suppose would be a word, and not having my shit together, in the sense that I lost all the anchor points that you would think,
the tethers.
Yeah, totally. So I used to live in Stoke Newington in London, and I lived in my flat for about 10 years, and I had to move out of the flat at the same time as that. So then I moved down here, so I moved to a new city. God. Yeah, there was so much going on.
They say like moving house is one of the most stressful things you can do, but you were doing that and all of the other things as well.
Yeah, totally. I know, but I definitely feel like the feeling of being untethered is the thing of feeling that you don't have your shit together.
100%.
I remember actually years ago, this is off piste, but I've got my big group of pals in London, and I remember one of them saying, "Jenny, you just got your shit together, don't you?" And I remember just being like, wow, if only you knew. If only you knew. Yeah. I was like, really? Do you think I've got my shit together? You said you just kind of seem like you've just got your shit together, and it was like this imposter syndrome thing of going like, wow, if this is what having your shit together it looks like. Oh my god, that's but yes, definitely the pandemic. I think for everyone the pandemic was just a fucking shit show, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But apart from that, I mean, I used to take a lot of drugs. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of fun, and actually now I know with my ADHD, I know that a lot of the reason, one, you're giving yourself dopamine. like mainlining dopamine, you know, but then also the fact that everybody's you're not too much because everyone's too much.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
So then you almost become like
the norm.
Yeah. And also what those kind of drugs do to you, like actually stimulant drugs make us organised.
Yeah.
You feel less chaotic.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense, but there was a lot of going out. It was when I first moved to London. It was like it was very kind of very haphazard, but it was fine. I was kind of like, well, I was just in my mid-20s. I think that's what everyone.
That's why I moved to London.
Does. Yeah, exactly. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's like it's a fun town.
Yeah.
But didn't have much to show for it. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
I don't know what's worse, is like having, trying to keep all your shit together and having a house and like having tethers and trying to keep that together, or like not, or being untethered and just being able to just riding it. Yeah.
So at the time when you say, like, during the pandemic and stuff, when you really felt like you didn't, what helped you out of that moment, do you think?
I mean, it's a work in progress, isn't it? It's therapies. Yeah, I've been having therapy for about 3 years, and I hadn't had therapy before, and it's a game changer. It's a real, like, an opportunity to have a look at yourself.
Definitely. I always say that, like, the best thing that you can invest in that way is yourself, because that is the relationship that you're going to have to maintain for a really long time, and getting to know yourself is, like, so valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. But also, like, I think we can all be painfully unaware of the effects of, childhood stuff or certain friendships or relationships or attachments or all this stuff. And when you've got an opportunity to take a step back and view it, it's a game changer. It does make me approach things differently, and approach people differently.
It makes you take stock, I think, doesn't it? I think so often in life we can just like roll through it, and sometimes it gets to the end of the month and I literally couldn't tell you what I'd done the week before because I'm just like on this conveyor belt of life. And I guess that's why people like journaling so much, or like why people go to church and pray or something. Like it's so important to have a moment to just reflect.
Yeah.
And I think less and less people are doing that now.
Yeah, totally. And but I also think those things are, again, it's discipline.
Yeah.
Of doing it.
For sure.
Of turning up for yourself.
Yeah,
I think that's what therapy can be like as well.
Yeah.
I think that's what therapy can be like as well, in the sense that some days you go and you don't want to look at yourself.
Oh my God, no. You talk about anything other than yourself.
Yeah. But those are the days that you should be looking at yourself, you know, or at least looking at a different part of yourself. Yeah. But it definitely, I recognise that I like, so even, you know, relationships. Yeah. I will now move into a relationship in a different way than I've ever done before, because I'm aware of my patterns. Yes. Which is like, I've never been aware of, or I've never had someone say to me, do you realise this and this? Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. I suppose I kind of knew it, but I didn't have a name for it. But also, it allows you to have compassion for yourself. Definitely. Which I think we could all do with being a bit kinder to ourselves. Just, I think a lot of people we beat ourselves up for the stupidest things when actually everyone's doing their best, aren't they? Yeah. Okay. 3 things that make you feel like shit. 3 things that make me feel like shit. One is people who are inconsistent. Okay. What do you mean by that? Like, don't show up? Yeah, I feel like from an attachment point of view, if someone's not turning up for me the way that they've said they would, or if we're not kind of matching each other, then I kind of feel like I'm on the back foot. Yeah. Or I feel like I'm giving too much. That kind of makes me feel like shit. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. Because I think on the attachment thing, like, I can get, like, small t triggered. Like, my anxiousness can get triggered if someone's not being consistent. Right, yeah. And can make me feel more needy. Yeah. But I'm actually not a very needy person, but it's just because I'm finding it really hard to know, like, where I stand or that sort of stuff. And it makes me feel really shit. Yeah, totally. And it's interesting and trying to understand, like, attachment style, where you're like, oh my God, I do that. Or or my attachment style changes with different people. I think sometimes probably... How calm people make you feel, maybe, or... Yeah, or if someone's dead secure, and it is just, you know, you can kind of almost mirror that feeling of, oh yeah, this is great, you know. But if someone is avoidant or hides... then it makes you more needy or like more anxious, but then if someone's anxious, then sometimes it makes you avoid it. Totally. It's so funny. It's such a moving thing. It is. It really is. But that makes me feel like shit. I think I think from a people point of view, not having a routine makes me feel like shit. Yeah. And not being creative makes me feel like shit. But then that's like a double-edged sword, because sometimes you can't be creative because you can't squeeze it out of yourself. So it doesn't just happen all the time. I know. But again, it's that thing of turning up for yourself, where, like, I don't know if if you do free writing, just 10 minutes of free writing, it's like dusting down your head. It's creating the environment for creativity to inhabit. Yeah. Rather than sitting down and be like, I'm going to write a poem now, but turning up every day and like free writing, eventually being present, you'll start to be inspired by things and stuff like that. Or just the act of moving a pen and writing and actually just, you know, it doesn't have to be good. Yeah. Because actually being creative isn't just about being good. No. It's making something new that wasn't there before, right? So you're like, I hate this idea that you're not a creative person if you're not being paid for it. Yes. Like, I had this had this debate at a party once with this woman, and she said that I hate when people say that they're creative and they're not even making any money from it. And I was like, well, that's not the thing about being creative. Being creative is like you feel your most yourself when you're making stuff. Yeah. It doesn't matter if it's shit. Yeah. It's like
even if it's like painting a fucking table or something.
Yeah. Like, but it's like the act of doing it. It's not necessarily output. Yeah. And the byproduct of if you're good, if you've got talent and you're creative, that's a different thing. But like just being creative, like kind of puts you at peace. Yeah, right?
For sure.
But on the writing thing, I saw this thing this week. Do you know Neil Gaiman?
Yes.
The master Neil Gaiman, who's amazing and wonderful, love him so much. But he was saying he was asked on a podcast about his writing process, and if he gets writer's block. And the thing he says, he's got his little writing room at the end of the garden, and he's like, my only rule is I can go and I can sit and not write, but I'm not allowed to do anything else. If I'm sitting looking out the window and not writing. Wow. He said looking out the window becomes quite boring after a while, so you end up writing because the rule is I'm not allowed to do anything else apart from looking out the window or writing. So he stops himself from being distracted because that's the thing, is like we procrastinate on... Weirdly, you procrastinate on something that you actually will bring you loads of joy.
Yes. Yeah, it's so strange, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really weird. In fact, so this is I've got a big
wall
project chart on my wall, and the saying that's in my mind recently, and I saw it, I can't remember where I saw it, but the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
Wow.
And the thing you want to do next is in the work you haven't done yet.
Wow.
And that is so true. That on my wall, that the magic's in there somewhere.
Yeah. So what we're seeing on the wall is like a load of yellow post-it notes. It's a bit like one of those detective. It's like you're trying to find the murderer, but you're not. You're trying to find the inner artist of Jenny.
But it's loads of different things. So it's like my show. It's page poetry. It's prose. It's stage poetry. It's workshops. It's voiceovers. It's Rebel Soapbox. So it's loads of different stuff because it's like this is all the stuff I want to do. Yeah. And trying to live a creative life, and actually. I find myself avoiding and procrastinating a lot. Yeah. But luckily, my ADHD meds replace procrastination with motivation.
Oh, that's good.
Which is like, if I've got a to-do list of things to get through,
you can hone in on it.
But if I in the morning take my meds and I don't have a to-do list, I end up trying to find things to do. Whereas like if I've got a list to do, I wake up in the morning what to do. I can just get them done. Yeah. So there's
something like really visual about it as well, which is quite useful because it's rather than having it all existing in the hypothetical, which I do. Is like I've got so many things I need to do. Having like tangibly being able to see it on a wall.
Well, the thing is, I've got a terrible memory, and if I don't do things, if I don't get it out, if I don't write it down or put it on a big bit of paper and put it on my wall in front of me,
put a leash on it,
it ends up falling down the rabbit hole, and then I remember a year later, and I think, I was going to do that thing, and I never got round to it. Whereas at least now it's kind of down and out.
Wow, I love that.
Hey, Ant.
Hey.
You do a great job in editing this podcast, might I say. If people like the podcast, what do they need to do?
Like it.
What else?
Follow it on social media.
And then what?
They could share it with every single person they know.
Thanks, Ant. You can go back to your corner now.
Bye.
Okay, 3 things that make you feel like the shit.
Performing.
Yeah.
I think, but not just performing, not just any old performing, but when I was acting and I was, by the end of my acting thing, I was a jobbing actor and I hated it.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't satisfying. I wasn't doing the work that I wanted, and it wasn't the reason that I'd gotten into it. It was like I was trying to pay the bills rather than
challenge yourself and grow and
flex
your muscles
and being fulfilled and all those things. Whereas getting to a point where I've written my own show and I've done it at Fringe, and I'm ready to kind of take it on a tour and all that stuff. That makes me feel really capable, and I'm like, it makes me feel proud of myself.
That's amazing.
So that's like, it's like a nice place to be. When I was at Fringe in Edinburgh, I remember I had like a few moments like this, but when I was up and I was doing it, and I felt an utter sense of belonging. And it was really beautiful. Yeah. And I think that's the thing that makes me feel like the shit, is when I feel like I belong.
I saw, do you know Rebecca Humphries, the actress?
No.
I think that's her name. I'll edit it out if it's wrong. But she is really like inspiring, and she put like an Instagram post which was things she wished she'd known about the industry before she started in it.
Wow.
And one of the things was to make your own work, and not because there isn't enough work out there or anything like that, but just because you owe it to yourself to experience like giving birth to something and seeing it come to fruition, and the joy of like beginning, middle, end of like a project. And that's like really stayed with me.
It's so true. It's like it's just a really joyful thing to be able to, but again, it's like that feeling of, it's like a mixture of things. One, it's like, it's just feeling capable and finishing a project. Like turning up, again, it's the whole
turning up for yourself.
Turning up for yourself. And actually there's a through line, I think, from our whole conversation. That idea that you're turning up for yourself, you're becoming someone that you can trust.
You're doing something that you've said that you'll do.
100%. Because fuck me, there's been a lot of things that I've said that I'll do and I've not done, and it's like
constantly.
But that, it's so frustrating. It's like I mean, so many times I've thought, God, am I ever going to be someone that actually does something, the things I say I'll do? But you know, but then you speak to my friends and they're like, you're constantly doing stuff, what are you talking about? So but it's like in our own heads, there's like, I think it's that idea that we're better at listening to the negative than the positive. But making your own work has definitely felt liberating. It's given me autonomy, and something to like feel legitimate about, where you can sit down in a room full of creatives and say, I did this thing, and they're, you know, when other people are going, I made this thing and I made this thing, you can also sit at that same table, and that feels satisfying. And it feels exciting. It's good. Two other things that make me feel like the shit. I always wear yellow shoes, and I've got a yellow hat that I wear, and they always make me feel really confident. And it's like, I'm like,
so cute.
I'm such a child.
Oh, I love that.
It is like I know.
Dress how you want to feel.
I have my yellow hat that. I think I saw someone the other day when I went to see Joelle Taylor doing Canto at the Coast is Queer in Brighton, and I bumped into someone who used to come to Rebel Soapbox, and she said, I don't think I've ever seen you without that hat on. And I was like, we've not seen me for a year. I don't wear it in summer, I only wear it in winter, but also it makes me feel really good. It makes me feel confident. Do you not have an item of clothing that you wear that's...
Oh yeah, definitely.
What is it?
It's usually jackets.
Right, okay.
Like, I've got a bit of a jacket problem, but like, because I can throw on like jeans and t-shirt, but then if I have like one jacket that I feel like I look really...
Is that a problem?
Cool. Well, I just have loads of jackets.
All right,
Like, too many jackets for one house to hold.
Right.
And because I'll just get them from charity shops all the time. So I've just got fucking tons of them. And no one needs that many jackets because...
You've only got one body.
Can't wear them all at once. But it is that thing of like, I'll put it on and I'll just feel like confident in it, and it brings the outfit together, and suddenly I'm like, boom, I've arrived.
I like that.
But I also love hats as well. In winter, I'm a hat person. What
kind of hats do you wear?
Oh, I've got an array of hats.
Have you?
The louder the hat, the better. Actually,
God, great.
I've got like a fluffy bucket hat, which is in a cow print.
Oh my God,
which I'm a bit obsessed
with.
I know it is.
That's a strong look.
I know, it is
amazing. I've got like a bomber jacket. I was going to say fetish. I love a bomber jacket. Bomber jackets and sneakers are the...
I recently bought a new pair of trainers yesterday, and I literally can't stop looking at them. I'm obsessed.
What colour are they?
I'll show you them.
Oh my God, have you got them there?
Do you know what's funny? And I'm really ashamed of myself, but fashion has fucking worked on me. Because 2 years ago, I thought they were absolutely hideous, and I judged everyone with Solomons. I used to call them salamanders because I thought they were fucking gross. And I think just being in London and seeing everyone wearing them, like ugly trainers are in.
Are people wearing it?
Everyone's wearing them. Hackney. There's a page called what is it? Real Housewives of Clapton.
Oh my yeah, brilliant. I've seen that. It's so good.
And he's like, everyone's wearing these and like racer bike.
Right.
Like sunglasses. The fact that you haven't even commented on them makes me realise that you think they're idiots.
The fact I've not commented on them means I don't live in London anymore. That's like, you know. I mean, like, I was shocked. I was shook. I was shocked when I realised people wore Crocs and socks.
Babes, yeah.
Disgusting. It's fucking disgusting.
Honestly,
nobody should be wearing that shit.
Yeah. Well, so my housemate is like very into fashion, and she follows this Berlin like influencer who, I don't know if you've seen these boots.
Croc boots.
No. Boots, but with like a toe split.
Oh, yes.
So it's like a hoof.
Yeah.
Like a hoof. And she sent me a photo and I was like, hideous, like someone's having a laugh with us. And she was like, these are going to be big. I've already started to see them in London and they're fucking disgusting. But because of those Solomons, I'm like, 100% I'm going to be wearing them in 2 years.
Do you know what? And also I think maybe this is an opportunity to let's stop judging people.
Yeah.
Let's just live and let live.
Someone's having a laugh with us though, I think. I think there's some fashion designer who's just like, what can we make them wear now?
Of course, because the thing is, if that shit's trending on TikTok, they're making a lot of money.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like, all you need is a couple of, like, big hitters.
Honestly.
What else? What do you think is going to be next?
I have no idea. But it's getting more and more bizarre. I went shopping yesterday and it was like dresses over jeans are back with leg warmers.
I remember.
Leg warmers as well. It's chaos. It's chaos out there. People don't know what they're doing.
Pick a decade, no?
It's all of them. It's like
it feels like that's like
the 60s to the 90s was like thrown up on each other, and that's what fashion is at the moment.
Because we all know that, you know, decades come back, like the fashion comes back. It's all cyclical, right? But if you want to try and just shove everything in at once, there's
nothing new anymore. They're just trying to blend it all together.
Isn't it?
Hideous.
Absolutely.
Stick with the yellow hats and the yellow shoes.
Exactly. Listen, it's like inoffensive, like. Yeah, so yellow hats and yellow shoes are the go-to. And the last thing is I really like being able to help and give advice to people just starting out in it.
Yeah.
Because it's like, or like creating a space for new writers, like creating a space for new people coming up. We've got a few ideas about creating more of a ladder into it. So, you know, do you remember when Henry Beckwith from Grooveverse was talking about trying to make the scene more professional?
Yes.
So that people get paid proper fees.
Yeah.
The problem is there's no pathway, there's no ladder.
Yeah.
So you've either got open mic nights or open mic nights with a headliner.
Yeah.
Or you've got K Tempest.
Yes.
you know, or Holly McNish.
Yeah.
You know, so like where's the middle bit?
Yeah.
So we need more professional nights.
Yes.
You know, but to do that we need to do kind of like help people.
Yeah.
Whether that's, you know, doing workshops, helping people with the writing, looking at their performance,
definitely
giving them a space, giving them an open mic night to then have an output of those workshops. Then working to try and get a feature set, first paid set. You know, because for my night, the headliner, who you're the headliner tonight, but the headliner picks somebody to feature. From the open micers the next month, and the feature performers get paid as well. So it's not a lot of money, but it's a start.
Just
you get
say that you've had a paid gig for like the first time, something that
you get paid for the
people
poems
put so much work in as well.
100%.
Yeah,
and so even paying people properly, I wish I could pay people better. I don't have funding because I pay people from the door, but that's the next step, is trying to get Arts Council funding to create a kind of a ladder for people to move up in, and actually something to aspire to. So I like being able to. I enjoy being able to create a platform and help people who are just starting out.
I love that. Okay, something that makes you lose your shit in a positive way and then a negative way.
So. I mean, anything that I'm hyper-focusing on, I lose my shit. I mean, I obsess.
Yeah.
I obsess about things. I mean, like, have you heard about the hobby graveyard? Have you heard the saying, the hobby graveyard?
No.
any person with ADHD will have a hobby graveyard, and you open their
I know exactly what you mean.
And they will have been obsessed with something for a couple of weeks, and will have bought all the kit and think this is the new thing.
Yeah.
And then the dopamine will transfer to something else, and then they'll buy a new kit for something else, and so on and so forth. Yeah. So I lose my shit, as in like positively, about quite a lot of things. I lose my shit about like good, like talented people. Like I lose my shit about good writing, like seeing people doing their thing. That's the thing about being in Edinburgh. Like even if the thing about Fringe, you'll know, like part of it is going to see stuff when it's rubbish. Yeah. Right? As well,
you kind of want the good bad stuff.
It's all you know. You're going to see, you know, the percentage wise, you're probably going to see 25% that's not great, and then like 40% that's all right, and then 10% that's good, and then 5 or 10% that's exceptional, right? So it's like, but you need that range to almost appreciate each other. But no matter where it is on that range, one of the things, and actually when my dad died. Well, his funeral was on the 2nd of August last year, and the festival started on the 8th or 9th. And I spent 3 weeks largely going to 3 shows a day on my own. And I did a couple of gigs as well, but it was the thing that really helped me. And the thing that really helped me in that was every single person that I went to see, there was a person standing in front of me doing the thing that they wanted to do. And it didn't matter whether it was shit or not. They were brave enough, they took a risk enough
to be doing it,
to be standing up in front of you doing it. And I think like that kind of stuff for me, I love watching people like in their element doing their thing. Like I lose my shit about that.
But I think that's where like the spoken word scene is so good for that, because every space is just somewhere for people to be held, and like no matter their ability, it's just a moment where they're given the same respect as the headliner. And I think that's really lovely. That's like really rare to experience that in another art form, I think.
Where else would you see that?
Yeah.
Literally, that's one of my favourite things at my night, or in any other any other night that I've done, is you get people saying, "Oh, this is my first time," and you're like, "Wow." You're being not just wow, oh, it's your first time, but they get up and they're really good, but they're nervous and but they're being brave. And then to your point, they're up there with someone who's been doing it for 15 years, and there's no. Well, I was going to say it's not hierarchical, but obviously you've got a headliner, you've got a feature, you've got open micers. But even in the open mic pool, it doesn't matter. Everyone's on the same level, and you don't. I can't think of another art form that you would have that.
It's like a leveler.
Yeah. Because with comedy, I think people work their way up in a different way, because there's more. It's more professionalised. Yeah. Professionalised, is that a word? It's more professional. So there's a more of a clear path and people being paid better, and there's more of the, you know, it's more popular. It's more mainstream, I suppose. Comedy versus spoken word, although it's changing. Music, no, you wouldn't have that.
No.
Where would you have that in music?
Definitely not.
So it's definitely it's a beautiful thing to see. Yeah.
Okay, something that makes you lose your shit in a negative way.
In a negative way, I usually lose my shit. Injustice and rude people.
Yes.
When people are really rude. I just, you know what? Let's just narrow it down. People are rude to waiting staff.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
No reason.
It's the fucking worst.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Immediate judgment.
Awful.
Have you been on the receiving end of it? Have you done hospitality much? God, yeah. I used to get it quite a lot, and especially before I went to drama school and stuff, when it mattered so much because it was like my wage and everything like that. Like, it's awful. It can ruin your day. Someone else's bad day can just completely shit on you. But
also, like, imagine going to someone's workplace and being rude to them anyway, but like, but going out for a meal and someone's getting paid, you know, minimum wage.
Yeah.
and working a 12-hour shift, and you've got this asshole like being a dickhead to you.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's across the board, right? I mean, I worked in asset management for 10 years. There was a lot of
assholes.
I'm gonna have to just gonna try and find the words, because I still know a few people from that time. There was a lot of entitled rich white men.
Yes.
That's all I'll say.
Let that sit in the space.
Yeah, I'm just gonna like let that hang in the air and.
Okay, a moment that you found some shit out about yourself.
So, grief has taught me a lot about myself and about the world and about life.
Yeah.
Not saying that I have like the answer to what is life at all, but losing my dad has changed the way that I see life. Though actually, two things: losing my friend Jason and losing my dad within 2 years of each other. Jason was very different. He had leukemia. He had blood cancer. So we were kind of his bubble for his last year, but we spent the last year so every time we saw him it was like Christmas, and we had the most profound magical sad year with him, and it was very drawn out, and my dad was quite sudden. So two very different deaths, but seeing the arc of someone's story ending makes you see, I suppose, like you can see it. I can see it all around. I can see we're all somewhere in our arc. We don't know where.
Yeah, that's
the thing. Is that's life. But it's weirdly taught me like so many different lessons. There's just all the lessons are happening all at once, and I think like going through grief, because you get the depths of sadness and the shock and the trauma around it. But there's a weird profound appreciation for life that I have now that I never had before.
Really?
Yeah. Sometimes you kind of feel it. I feel grief, which have you ever heard of the grief wallop? The idea that
it just hits you out of nowhere.
It comes from nowhere.
Yeah.
You could be fine, you could be getting on with your day, and then something, and it could be a small thing, it could be a big thing, and you'll be in floods of tears, and it'll hit you, and then it almost comes to sit with you. There's a bit in my show where I talk about the grief creature. I had a dream about this little creature that was like in my dream it was like a thumb smudge with arms and legs, but it's like a spirit animal almost. That everyone who felt grief had this little had it with them, beside them, so everyone could see that you're in grief. You could see that who was in grief, so you wouldn't have to explain it or tell people, oh, my dad died, and then people don't know what to say to you. You know, so the thing comes to sit with you, but weirdly at points there's like a joy, there's like a weird joy that comes with it. Not joy for the loss, but like joy and gratitude. I suppose it's like a gratitude and an appreciation that I never thought would come from that. It's weird.
Because it's one of those things that whenever big life altering moments like that happen, it's just puts things dramatically into perspective, and suddenly all the massive things that felt so important suddenly feel really insignificant.
100%. And I think that it's that idea that now I'm trying to live a creative life. I want to do my thing now because I can't not do my thing now. I need to do it. That's like I have to, because nobody knows how long they've got. You might as well do the thing that if you can do it, try and make it happen. But it's it definitely a lot of stuff stops mattering. And also I feel like my priorities have changed. I don't the things I used to find fun, I don't really find fun anymore. The things, like I said before, the things I found joy in before. I think now, I think this hand in hand with therapy has allowed me to really understand what it is that I need in life and what it is that I really want.
Yes.
Because I used to have an idea of what I wanted, but I'm not sure that it was the thing that would have made me happy.
Yeah.
Whereas now I can't be anything other than myself. I feel completely stripped back and the most authentic version of myself now. Yeah. And actually that's what is, that your question is, when did you learn some shit about yourself? This is what it's taught me, is like, I don't have a stall to sit out anymore. Yeah. I'm just me. And it's like, as much as it's a really vulnerable place to be in, it actually makes things less complicated. Yeah. Because I think I need directness from people, and I'm direct with people. Yeah. And it's taken out all the bullshit.
It sounds like it's more of like an awareness of time as well. Yeah. And like that we only have a certain amount of time. And I think when you haven't experienced grief in a certain way, you can kind of, naively go about thinking, I've got all the time in the world. Yeah. Like that dream that I have can exist in the distant future because I'll get round to it some time. But when something like this hits you, it's like the awareness of you actually have to take a hold of things and make things happen for yourself because you never know.
Like, 100%. And I think you're absolutely right. And I think that we live in a culture that people expect things to happen for them. Yeah. But actually, the turning up for yourself, like being disciplined enough to like pull something together for yourself, completing the project, doing all that stuff. That's the stuff that will make that's the stuff that will make you feel fulfilled. Yes. And it doesn't matter how much time we've got left. Yeah. Then you want to feel fulfilled in it, and I think that's the thing that this has taught me. Is like, I don't want to dick about anymore. Yeah. I want to be doing the stuff. Yeah. Because what's the point otherwise? Yeah. Amazing. Okay, shittest piece of advice you received. Oh, well, it was like, get a real job was one of them. And I don't think my dad was wanting to give me shit advice, but like, we're just different. Because I spent a long time, I mean, out of necessity as well, because London's an expensive place and we all need to eat, right? But what I found was I put myself away in a box to get a real job. Yeah. And have a pension and healthcare, which is great. Yeah. But then the sacrifice that I made was that I was kind of not living my authentic life, I suppose. Yeah. I mean, I always had creative stuff outside of work. Yeah. Which I kind of always tried to get off the ground, which was fun in itself. But I never. I was always quite scared of jumping. I think that was that bit of advice. Yeah. Not only kind of the idea that what you do as a creative isn't real, so then it makes you doubt. Yeah. Your kind of.
It's just what we value in society, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's about. I mean,
how is being creative any less real than sitting at a computer and punching in numbers? Like.
Well, 100%.
It's just we value one more than we value the other. Yeah. Within our society.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, I suppose it's material, isn't it? It comes down to material stuff. Yeah. It's like, for people who are pragmatic and business focused, dicking about on stage and writing stuff, well, it's not going to make you any money, so why would you want to do that? Yeah. This is a real job. Yeah. Like, I mean, I suppose rather than it being the shittest piece of advice, I would say I wish I hadn't believed it. Yeah. Or I wish I hadn't put so much on it. Yeah.
Okay. Shit you wish you'd known sooner.
I wish I started writing earlier. I wish I'd started making my own work earlier. And I wish I'd done that when I was acting. Okay. Because I think it would have looked really different for me if I had. And I don't know whether it comes with age or like confidence or life experience or, would I have been a good writer at 21 or 24? I don't know if I would, because actually the stuff I write about is the stuff that I've lived. So but I wish that I had believed in the possibilities a lot sooner than I have now.
Yeah. Okay, we're now at the shit shot. So that is a photo that to the outside eye looks like you had your shit together, but at the actual time you didn't.
Yeah. It's a photo that I used for my headshot. For my performance poetry.
Yeah.
And it was like a self-portrait because I needed new headshots, and it was during the pandemic, and I was making a video for BYOB Poetry because I was headlining them online, and I took some photos, and it was about a week before I was moving out of my house in Stoke Newington. I'd lived there for 10 years. My friend Jason was dying. I'd just been made redundant. The pandemic was happening. I was in the throes of my ADHD traits were through the roof, and I couldn't think straight, and I was properly properly depressed. I couldn't get myself out of it. But the thing is about being a performer or an actor or whatever it is, where you've got to stand up in front of people and switch it on. It's not very healthy, is it?
No.
But the problem is we have to. That's one of the things I actually really struggle with, I think, with performing, is that idea. If things are chaotic for me, or if things are volatile in a relationship, or if I've got stuff going on, having to stand up in front of people and pretend things are okay is like, it's starting now to be a hard push. I don't know how capable I am of it. As I definitely am not as capable of doing it as I used to be. Where I used to really have to switch it when I was doing telly stuff. You're having a close up, and you're like,
oh my gosh,
you've
put everything to bed.
You just got to park it, and it's like that in itself is kind of a skill to be able to park it, and actually, like, I suppose it's
you have to make the choice to park it or use it. I think you kind of lean into it.
Depends what you're doing. What scene you're doing. You know, if it's the scene where you've got to lose your shit, then it's great. You know, but I definitely feel that maybe actually I'm gonna like backtrack a little bit. Maybe it's because I've historically found it really difficult to regulate my emotions when I was younger, and when I was acting and there was stuff going on, I found it really difficult to park things because I felt it. Physically, I would embody whatever was happening, and actually maybe it's a lesson in learning how to separate yourself from your emotions. Does that sound healthy or not? I don't know. It's like, I suppose it's self-regulating, isn't it? How do you soothe? How do you self-soothe? How do you self-regulate? I suppose that's different than having to pretend. It's not.
I remember when I was speaking to Layla Josephine, and she was saying one of the things that she started to explore now is like, at what cost do we as artists or we as poets have to expose our vulnerabilities in ourselves? And like, I feel it's a line that I tread in terms of like my willingness to be vulnerable about certain things, but actually holding some of yourself back. Like, writing and poetry for me is my form of therapy and how I work through things, but I don't necessarily have to put those on stage. And like choosing the ones that I have capacity for and aren't, it's okay to hold some things back for yourself.
100%. I think that's I think it's really important to, especially if you're making autobiographical work, to ring fence your heart. To make sure that you're not self-harming every time you stand up. In doing my show and speaking about my dad, there have been points where I've gone, right, two things, I need to check in. One, am I ready to tell this story? And then two, does anyone want to listen to the story? But then there's a third thing, which is, does this make it worse? That does me standing up here and
yourself through it,
and relaying it every day. Does it make it worse? But actually, there's an element of scripting that goes around that I've put into my show.
Yeah.
So I'm not reliving the feelings that I had. I'm telling the story. Yeah. It's like the facts.
Yes.
I'm telling the facts. I'm not talking about my relationship with my dad there's a lot of the stuff that I don't talk about. I won't talk about because it was deeply personal. It's really traumatic still. It's kind of not. I'm still processing that. But the being able to tread the line actually can be really cathartic.
Yes, definitely.
And I think that it also trickles into your life of being able to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because if we can't be vulnerable with the people in our lives, then again, what's the point, right?
Yeah.
And I think that making art allows a doorway into being more vulnerable.
Definitely.
So,
yeah. Okay, so Jenny, have you got your shit together?
Absolutely not. Hey, listen, I don't think anyone's got their shit together. Let's be honest. Like, you know, everyone can set a stall out.
Yeah.
I don't have my shit together all the time. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I feel like I belong. Other times I feel like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? But ultimately, I feel like as long as we all know that not everyone's got their shit together, it doesn't really matter. Because we're all in it together, I suppose.
Yeah, and that's the secret.
Yeah, it's the secret, exactly.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yay!